So, here we go, number 81, the Darkness to Light GodCast. Welcome back if you're joining me again. Jim McFadyen here in the Vortex Centre for Wellbeing. This one, number 81, is going to be called Politics. I'm going to be talking a wee bit about politics, which is an interesting subject. It's a subject I wasn't expecting to speak about. I had planned to do a GodCast this week, try to get back into the way of doing them every week. It's been busy the last wee bit. And this is 7th of May 2026, so after coming back from Croatia, I was here for a week basically, and then I was away to Portugal last week. Went over there for, number one, to see Michael. Michael, who's obviously a huge part of the Vortex. He was 30, so a chance to go over and spend, to surprise him first and foremost, and then spend a bit of time with him for his birthday. Just something I really was very keen to do, and for so many different reasons, I'm glad that I did. And at the same time, I was able to hook up and meet an old friend of mine, a good friend of the Vortex, over in Portugal in the Algarve. Another 2.5 days of, it was non-stop for the minute, what time was it up? 12:30 the night before for the kind of 6 o'clock flight, so no sleep, and then picked up from the airport right through to 1 o'clock the next morning. Just one of the best days I've ever had. It really was. It was incredible. We did everything. It's one of the days, if you could make a wish and you can do anything. I'm trying to think, because everything that I suggested, or that Ricky suggested, or we kind of came up with together, it was just one of the days where everything, it wasn't a wasted moment. There was a lot of work get done. There was a lot of space. There was a fair bit of sunshine, a wee bit of beach, good food, just incredible food. The produce again in the sun, and something about that area as well, the energy, which I was this time able to see a fair bit of the countryside and the bits that appeal to me. It's a really special place, and it's a place where I am looking to spend a lot more time very, very soon, and going forward with my work and with the mission and with the Vortex itself. It's something that's been a dream for a long time, is to take this to the world and get it out there, and as I am getting older and as things are unfolding and the way that this is developing, and the opportunities, I suppose, that are coming up for me just now, then the natural evolution, certainly the most exciting evolution for me is to do it, not just here in Scotland, but somewhere else. So that the thought of having a different base or a different centre, as well as always having something here, that's very important, especially for the community now, the numbers in the community. So there's a place where we can meet, they can meet, even if I'm not here. There's somewhere the community can still obviously keep going. The ashram, the central meeting point, the sacred space. It's great doing it online, but there needs to be somewhere we can all, that's what the Vortex is just now. We can all meet in person and be here. There's nothing like it. Because the vibration of this place, anybody that's been in it will know that, the vibration over the years and what it's became because of the work that takes place in it, and there's so many good people and goodness that this building has been blessed with. Even way back, it was a private maternity called Fairhaven, that was the name of it. And for years and years, you used to get the old guys walking up regularly, like many, many times. It happened, they would chat the door, or they would be out in the garden, and they were born in here. And I remember renovating the loft the first time around, clearing it out and finding just some of the stuff back then, after the war, the wars, both of them, and the kind of all different things, pictures and medical supplies for back like probably the 30s and the 40s, like for a maternity home. It was amazing. It's an amazing place, so no surprise that the work that takes place in it has continued on, and obviously with the Wellbeing, and then obviously the spiritual work and the meditations and the group classes and the thousands and thousands of things that have been made better within this building, and especially the kind of main room. So it's important we've still got that, but at the same time, it's time to kind of change up a wee bit for me and do things I've been wanting to do my whole life, and that's going to involve travelling and being in different countries. That's the plan, and I'm hoping it's going to be very, very soon. So that was the main other part of the kind of the secret mission, was to go over there and have a wee look about and see what's happening. And I did all of that. It was great the way that it works over there. I got a chance to meet one of the builders and seeing different bits of land and just, what a space. When you're 10 minutes away from the tourist names and the tourist destinations and all the hotels and the water parks and you know, the whatever it is that's created, you know, to attract people in. The beaches, obviously, but when you just get a wee bit away from that, it doesn't need to be far. It's a different world, and as I was blessed, you know, to spend time and really get to see the real bit, you know, the real people, the real restaurants, and have a translator there with me, so I was privy to all their conversations and how they interact with each other, and just good people, really. Maybe just, you know, obviously the people that I met, but it was everywhere. Every cafe, every restaurant, you know, the spa we were in, you know, along the beaches, the cafes under the beaches. Really wonderful, and done in a very humble way, a very kind of quiet, gentle, authentic, kind of the way that it's meant to be, kind of way. That's what it felt like. You know, they're real people. There's a tradition that's not been yet lost or taken in Portugal. I remember when my dad bought his wee house in Mallorca, 1990 was it? Probably 1994 maybe, 1994. And then I watched what's happened to up to present day. I was there probably 3-4 years ago when he sold his wee house. And just watching the change, you know, and what it became, and watching the evolution of that right through, you know, the progress, with the money coming in, you know, the European, the German money in the beginning, and then a lot of Eastern European money came in, and then now the Americans are like locusts, would be the best way to describe it. Some of the places that we used to know, and Jill and I spoke about, you know, dreaming of retiring there. There was one place in particular, to the west, northwest, the kind of westerly side of the island, at the kind of bottom left hand side, but on that kind of west side, and watching what that became, with the tourist money coming in. It's really quite sad, and I get, you know, the locals and all the damage that's done in terms of people buying their properties, and then, you know, obviously Airbnbs isn't its holiday destinations, and the locals can't afford it, and even the lack of. It must be difficult when you stay places and you've grown up and that's your home, and you see these people coming in. And just like locusts, literally raping it and taking what they need, and it's not easy. It's not easy. So blessed. I'm still playing catch up. My batteries are definitely reading charged. Since I've been back, I've been knocking lumps at it as well. You know, between the community, Sunday night, Sunday service, and then boys club. I was working during the day all day Monday, all day Tuesday. I was off yesterday during the day, but end up, again, it's like personal stuff and your life stuff and stuff that needs taken care of, which I'm doing a lot of just now, and then working again last night, taking a quite late last night, so it's been full on, and I'm still kind of playing catch up a wee bit. There's so many things that I would like to talk about. There's so many, like so much good stuff going on just now, for myself and for the Vortex and the people that are around about it. It's a fantastic time. And it's a very difficult time. I know that as well. I see that with people that I meet, especially the ones that are coming off of, you know, that are not within the programme, that are not really living this way, or using these tools and techniques. That's a massive. There's such a the difference between, you know, the people that know what they're doing and have got an idea in terms of what makes them feel better, and they know how to feel better, you know, in terms of, you know, how to breathe and how to sleep, and, you know, awarenesses and how to relax and sleep. Your diet, and you know the whole system, the intentional life, you know, realising the impact that you can have on it, and then actually bringing those, you know, changes into your life, and then getting the benefits from it. You know, somebody who's been given, you know, that training, and I've taken it on and learned a different way of doing it. You know, change is very, very difficult to make, and if you don't know that even that's available, you know, so when people come in here, a lot of the times it's for the first time, you know, they've got an idea that breathing's good for you, but they've no idea, you know, what they're going to get and what they're going to experience, and all the benefits, and how it can impact them, and then obviously getting the experience of what the impact does to them is incredible. So it's a fascinating time. It really is. It's very, very. I feel really grateful just now, and I say it all the time to the community, because of what I'm surrounded by, the people that I'm spending time with, the ones that mean the most to me. Obviously, my family, my girl, and my Waynes and my Doug, but the inner circle within the Vortex, and you know, this mission that we're on together. Watching people going through stuff just now. I mean, we are no different. I am no different. We're all going through the same stuff. It's just like, we're doing it in a different way, because we've got this way of living and being, you know, which is based on spiritual practices, and based on holistic practices, and based on, you know, taking ownership and learning and discovering, you know, what it's all about, and then going on a kind of journey to change and to bring it into your life. It's it's fascinating, the ones that it sticks with, the ones that really get into it, and the ones that don't, the ones that come and just get they kind of come and get one experience and then they disappear and they don't bring it into their life. And that's all good as well. It's a timing thing. It's always about the timing, but watching the ones that are really living it. And there's a few of them are really going through very, very challenging kind of circumstances just now, personal circumstances. And the power of the group and the support in the group and watching people who have been living this way for a couple of years navigate things like grieving, bereavances and losing people or caring for people they're about to lose. Watching people that are struggling and suffering and the life actually isn't that great, and they know that it's going to get worse, or they're going through challenging times and doesn't really seem to be any end to it. And watching how they're making their way through it, even just with simple awarenesses like how to breathe, the ability to switch off your nervous system and at least give yourself a break, a chance to switch off even for a short period of time, and to get that relief, that respite, that we kind of. It's literally like taking a breath. It's a drowning man that's taking a breath, isn't it? So getting that ability to navigate your way through it in a different way, and just keep your head above water just enough to survive it, and then through time, and this is where when they do start to then bring different things in, the more skills that you add, the more tools that you add, the more holistic practices and techniques and intentional ways of making yourself better, the more and more you add, into your life, then. In my experience with myself and with other people, the better and better it becomes, So it's actually very, very simple. It's not easy to make the changes in the beginning, but it's so simple. And for me, it obviously makes everything better, So there's a lot of exciting stuff going on just now. A lot of good people doing great things. A lot of people want to help. A lot of people want to learn how to become coaches, which is really exciting for me. Which will be. When you get people sharing their stories and sharing like who they are and what benefits they've experienced by doing this, living this way, how it's helped them. I'm looking forward to the days when that becomes a norm for people to talk about it, and even more so when people start to understand what it actually is and get in about it. Just that curiosity to see what it is, and if you have a strong enough reason to need it, if things aren't going that well, or if things are going well and you'd like to make them better, or whatever it is that people come in with. For me, it's like to give them the experience of just what it actually is. You can't talk about it. You need to lie down on your back and experience complete peace of mind. You need to understand, that the language is only going to take you so far. The words are only going to get you so far. You need to experience it and be in it and live through it. And it's a wonderful process. It really is. The breath work and the relaxation, how they go together, and even just getting to the point, if that's just it. Just stopping, just giving yourself permission to, or learning how to stop, how to slow the mind down so you get to a point where you can actually think, which is, and then all that energy that's been driven towards that to make, to navigate you through your life, when that energy's got, nowhere to go, and then with intention, you can direct that. And, at that point, it depends how far you want to take it, because once you go from the outside world, when you're in that chronic noise and in your head and just the way that life is for everybody, more or less, when you actually slow down and come away from that and see a different world, the world that's inside of you, when you stop and you go inside and you can't think, and then you start to tune back into your feelings again, that's life-changing, you start to remember how you meant to feel, and that's very difficult if you're in stress all the time. If you're in this constant, this is why the head and what it does in terms of what you're thinking about, the constant, whether you're looking into the past or the future, or you're making stuff up, or you're trying to work stuff out, you're trying to, always trying to find answers and a way through things. That's what the conscious thinking mind is all about, isn't it? It's always trying to find a way. It's always working out the best way forward for you, to protect you, to guide you, to make it the easiest way. And if we don't get a break for that, if you don't know how to switch that off, and for people that have never had it turned off, when you're just in this constant, never-ending, chronic stress, tension, inflammation, just stimulation all the time, which is firing the stress response. Very easy to see where the addiction comes from with so much of that stuff, just with the stimulation. You see marketing and how that goes together and how they hook you in. It's fascinating. Really, really is the power of all of that. You know, so when we get you out of that, when you stop that and you get a break from that, and then you reconnect back into your, back into your heart, which is where we're going straight away. Let's not kid ourselves on, trying to reconnect back into the heart, back into the soul eventually. So we need to switch the head off. You know, that's why breath work is so important. The breath is the bridge that basically slows that down. And then the intentional breath is, which I teach, that's my system that I've kind of been putting together all these years. You know, then it's the guidance of, okay, so once you go back inside and you start to feel and you start to reconnect and you start to remember, through your feelings, that's a big thing. You know, and again, if you're in your head, you can feel it in certain ways, but it's very much compromised. You know, the language of the intelligence of the heart and the language of feelings is very different from the mind and the intellect, you know, and all that kind of, like the rational rights and wrongs, and it's very, very different. It's a different language, you know, so they're both valuable, obviously, and we need both of them. But if you're only in, you know, the first one in the head all the time and thinking all the time and can't switch it off anytime, then that's a challenge for your physical health, because you know, what you're thinking about is generating the chemistry required. And for a lot of people, that's stress hormones all the time. You know, they're in a state of stress. You know, the adrenaline's firing into their system all the time. And at that point, you know, that's required in certain points of your life. You know, if you're under threat or if you're trying to escape something, you want to be in a heightened state. You want to sit in an ice bath. It's good to be in a heightened state. But if that's your natural, or at least your normal way of being that becomes natural to you, then that isn't right either. That's not how it's meant to be. That's out of balance. And sooner or later, the adrenals firing all the time. You know, it's like the boy that cried wolf. So eventually, of course, burnout and depletion, and you know, that recovery from that can take a while. And again, in this environment, it's not really set up to provide, you know, what you need to recover in this environment. You know, if you're working and dealing with families and even just try to survive, you know, so it's a slippery slope. So, a lot of good stuff going on. Woke up this morning and saw that there's an election on, apparently. I've withdrawn quite a lot of it. I can see what it is. I actually get it's how funny is this? You get my information through the Lego. The Lego animations. You can see what's happening in the world, and well done whoever's doing them. Like the truth that sets us free, and how that's coming through, in that, you know, the amount of views that it's got, and the truth that's in it, and the goodness that's in it. And I was enjoying them for a wee bit, but I'm not really watching much that's going on. Wee Murphy's coming down. She's got a sore leg. There she is. Get her. I've not been watching much, and wasn't even aware there was an election coming up. Came up to it this morning, saw it this morning, and I thought, okay, so politics, obviously there's in America, everywhere in the world obviously, but America's a big one. That's the big show, isn't it? You know, the whole political system and what it's all about. And you know, when I see it, I've only ever voted once, and the reason that I did it was to go and see it. For the longest time now, I have known that, you know, that whole, the political system and career politicians and how it goes together, and I suppose at the end of the day how much difference it makes who's in charge and who's in the lead and who's got the chair. I've always wondered, if I was very, very young, how much difference does it make? And over the last probably 10, 12, 14 years, I've certainly, you know, I'm so cynical towards it, the whole thing, in terms of, you know, every bit of it. Where do I even start, you know, but the part that it plays within this world is huge, obviously, and when it goes now and I see it, and I'm starting to now understand why I've been getting things flashed up on, you know, my feed on social media with Labour MPs for fucking Glasgow and shouting about, you know, time for change, and we're the only ones can change it. And straight away you think that's the circus has begun. The circus is now in full flow. So you look at it and you watch who's in it, you see who's in it, and it's a show to me, you know, because at the end of the day it doesn't actually matter really, like who's in power. It really doesn't. I'll explain a wee bit about that as I go. But whether it's left or right or blue or red or, you know, it doesn't matter what you call it. The days of a political naming of a party and what it stood for, and the ethics and, you know, the intention with it, the days are long gone. You know, these people are so fucking mixed up, and they're all they're off I'm going to talk about, where they come from, and both sides, you watched it with Trump the last time, how he went for one side and just flipped completely to the other. It didn't actually matter, what he believed in. The whole thing was to get into the chair and get the power, which is really interesting. So the show goes on. This is where it's the big distraction of the world. You think of these people and who they are. To start with, these career politicians. I remember hearing that for the first time and thinking, what does that mean, a career politician? And then I was very young again, but understanding, there was a benefit to be had and gain to be made for yourself, for these publicly, appointed officials that have been voted in, because of what they stand for. That's the thing. You think about these people when they stand and they tell you all the things that they're going to do, because you need to, first and foremost, once you understand the game, once you see the kind of the system and how it goes together, the roles that these play, these politicians, I see them as very much as they're like clerks. There's work to be done. There's jobs that need done on all different levels. And obviously international relations and correspondence, and and these people, they come from a very specific background. They don't come from the same background as me, probably, or you. They come from, they would class themselves as the elites, or the ruling classes, and I wouldn't give them that. I think they're certainly an upper class in terms of they're better than the plebs, the workers, the kind of the peasants, the lower classes. They see themselves in every way better than, and from their very early stage, the schooling system they go into, the environment they're born into, the opportunities they've got, the education they receive, good, bad or indifferent, it's designed to, allows them to be in the system, and right for the very start. There's no mistake, where all the prime ministers or anywhere in the world, you look at America as well, the universities, and it all depends on, what family you're born into, who you know, what clubs you're in, what kind of, all these different, because they love a wee secret club, don't they? They love to kind of cut about behind closed doors, and obviously, politics, another word for politics, is the exact same as business, isn't it? So a lot of these guys, I'm pretty sure, don't intend to become career politicians. They're very much in daddy's business, or whatever that is, and in the all-day business with each other. And obviously the political side to that is when there's government money involved, and the funds, as you saw with COVID, probably the clearest ever. The money that was generated and put to help the public, and then all these different companies that sprung up with desire to help and save the planet, and the money that they made, and the scams that were going on, and just fucking chaos. As my dad says, wherever there's money involved in people, you just you've got to be careful, because it only goes one way. People are greedy. Thieves are everywhere. And especially something as big as that, where you can't really trace it. It's very, very interesting. So the career politician, and to think you could actually go in and do that job, always when I grew up, it was because they want to help people. Always kind of weird. They're a weird bunch, aren't they? Anybody's into politics, or they're different. But you always used to believe, it certainly watch them think they believe what they were saying in terms of what they stood for, and what their ethics were and what their intentions were, and because that's what the whole thing was about, wasn't it? And obviously now that's that's not really when you watch them talking, and you hear them speaking, almost all of them. And this is where Hawkins, when he talks about how to discern truth from falsehood, when you hear them speak, I can normally tell. This is where I'm very good at sensing things. I can normally tell when they're telling lies, and normally they're looking straight at you and their lips are fucking moving. It's certainly at the top level, and you see it with Trump every single day. And the man that he learned from, I spoke about this a few kind of GodCasts ago. He learned from a lawyer friend of his, who was I think he was a Jewish guy. Just a coincidence, just happened to be a Jew. All love here, all good. But he taught him how to overpower and even when things were going wrong, there's a way to get people on your side. There's a way to kind of bully them by certain behaviours, like intentional behaviours that they would use to just overpower them. And even though you were wrong in losing, as Trump did many, many times, in business and so many different levels, but it's just, it kept going, and the certainty of him, like overpowered, and there was almost like an entrainment in their belief system as to, the reality didn't actually matter. It was what he was saying was that was the, that was more, had a bigger hold on people than what the actual truth was. And you see that every day just now, with the kind of, every time he speaks, which I never ever see anymore. Not that I have done, but you catch clips of it. But I've been dodging it the last few weeks. But when you see him, you can just think, it's like, nah, that doesn't feel like the truth to me. That feels like lies that you're speaking. And then he's flip-flopping every single day, manipulating the markets every single day. The old insider trading, that war again. The money that comes through war. This is why when you're looking at politics and politicians, and you need to remember, and I know people that have questioned me about, I didn't stand beside Trump. When I came out of my shell, out of my hole, and came into this world, this social media world in 2016, at the time there was a lot of kind of stuff going on, and a lot of things Trump was talking about, probably just after that, about paedophilia and how things had to change, and he was talking about draining the swamp. He was talking about the corrupt career politicians. How ironic is that? What he's became. And for a year, I remember saying, like, let's just watch and see what this guy does. I didn't know him. I knew of him, but I didn't really. I don't watch anything. But it was interesting watching him. And again, as a character in the circus at the time, I found him fascinating. And when he was debating Hillary Clinton, and it was entertainment. I found him very entertaining because of the brutality and the truth. And again, that's that way I was talking about, how he just overpowers people. He didn't win me over, but I was interested in him, and I didn't know which way he was going to go. Obviously, he was a corrupt, crook businessman. Of course he was. But when a lot of the stuff he was saying, I liked. A lot of the stuff he was talking about, I kind of believed in, and that was my first really, any interest, I suppose, in world politics. And it was mostly because of the stuff he was talking about, the amount of children that were going missing. I think he said 500,000 or 600,000 at the time. One of the quotes or the studies that I saw. Every year, into the sex trades and, into the whole the paedophilia rings. And he was very much talking about that and how he was going to put an end to that. And I was like, hey, okay, let's see how this guy does. And it was right up until the point of Operation Warp Speed, which was during COVID. And up to a point, it was I saw him starting to wobble. And there's a man who I follow online who follows the circus from a spiritual perspective. It's good viewing for me because it's all based in spirit. I can only watch it a wee bit, but he's the only person. So he covers it every single day as a way to generate money for his business, for his channel. Talks about the spiritual stuff as well, the meditation that I'm into, the natural path. Saj Mark, he trained in that for over 30 years now, and he's basically like documenting, commentating on the circus, and everything that goes with it. So he's very much. I would get my information from him. He's an American, so and watching at the time, Trump starting to wobble, and then I watched the day that he flipped completely, and my heart sank when I saw him. He walked out with a mask on. He was talking about being the godfather of the vaccine, and I remember at the time like saying to one or two in my inner circle talking about it and thinking, I wonder what happened, how they got him. I wonder what they how because up to that point it'd been very much about obviously getting for himself, that's who he is, but getting for the people as well. It kind of felt like for the greatest good. Or they were the greatest good was going to benefit as like a kind of a byproduct of what he was going to get for himself, but it felt like things were going to change a wee bit. Again, me not knowing too much about it, but that's kind of what it felt like. And then, watching him after that, and from that day, which was years and years ago, that was going back 5-6 years now, Operation Warp Speed, whatever that was, and what they did with the vaccine, and then what happened to him, his first term, and then, losing it, and then getting back in again, and watching him now as to what he's became and who he is. And I remember thinking, look, at that time, what happened to him? What did they get him on? Was it a threat? Was it what made him change? There was a definite change. And when you watch what they do, when you see it's the American politicians are, they're famous for it. You see their income and what they're able to attain. When they go into office, you see how much money they earn. They earn good money, but you see the wealth and these just incredible riches that seem to find them by being in political office, So that must be really appealing, especially for Americans that love money, to be, it feeds the ego completely. You're someone of significance, you're someone in power, you make a difference, your ego would love that. But the opportunities to make like proper money, like government money, I remember deep down the rabbit holes in the beginning, way back, this is going back 6-7 years ago, where the money was disappearing to Ukraine with the Clintons, and I think Biden was involved in that as well, and all the different building companies that had been set up in the Middle East, and the money that had been like filtered into all these kind of offshore companies and building companies that they all fucking owned. And the ones that are creating the wars also own the companies, through their brother-in-laws and their grannies that rebuilds the lands and the homes and the towns and the cities and the fucking literal countries that they destroy. I mean, what a business model. So that must be really appealing for Americans to get into that as a line of work, which is terrifying. It really is. You watch them coming in, you see these politicians coming in, and you hear them. I heard a wee guy, he's either from Hamilton or Glasgow, God love him, but he's talking about, change, how he's going to change, and I'm looking at him and I'm going, you'd be lucky if you could change your fucking underpants, without the help of your mammy. Never mind change the country or try and get us out of this, whatever this is we're in just now. It's insanity what's going on within the political world. And these people that we're voting for, and the way that they're groomed in many different ways, but the way they're trained. Murphy's got a sore leg, she's trying to get up in the bed. Get him off. The way that they're trained, the way they're educated, the way that they're indoctrinated and kind of sworn in to the gang, which must happen at all different stages. Probably through daddy. And then all different stages right up through, the universities and the colleges that they go to. And it's the secret clubs in the background, isn't it? We know which ones they are, but there's many different of those as well. All over the world, there's, I remember one of the big, it was a Q map it was called, and they had a list of all the different secret societies, and whether it was accurate or not, and whether they all linked to the way that this said that it did. It was like an underground, the train map of how all the different, clubs and societies around the world that run the world and own the world, how they're manipulated and how they all link together. It's fascinating. And these politicians and people of influence and power, the controllers, these are puppets. People see them as the controllers, but they're not really the controllers. It's whoever it is that's the basic, funding them and putting them into power. Which is something obviously that's huge as well. That's where it doesn't actually matter, what side that you believe that they're on, because the people that are funding them, the people that are paying for them, the lobbyists that in America especially, you look what happened to Trump, in the UK as well, what you find is that there's certain people that are, funnily enough, in the news just now, a certain area and region of the world within the Middle East that have the money and they fund so that they're quite literally buying governments. Because that's what you see just now within the Middle East. That's what's happening to obviously Israel's influence on America, which makes you wonder what have they got on Trump? Why is Trump doing this? Why are the American? It can't just be because we gave him money to run and to get into power, which what they did. They bankrolled him. So obviously they'll get favours to call in. But when it gets to the point of genocide of hundreds of thousands of people and the effect on how many countless millions of people already worldwide because of what's now happening. At some point, and at one point, I'm wondering, watching, when does this become public? Does it ever become public? When does this come out in the open? When is justice served? When does integrity actually fucking win and the truth actually set us free? Who are the politicians? What is the system that can do that? That's a really interesting one for me. And I'm thinking about it. I've been thinking about it probably too much recently. Will the truth? Will it come out? Will it be held accountable? This war's a complete distraction for me. The stuff that's going on in the Middle East is a complete distraction. Always has been right from the very beginning. And already seeing, I think some evidence of, because the files are the big thing. The files need to come out. That's the thing. Everybody needs to see them, no matter how bad they are. And just the longer it goes on, and the more chance I've got to manipulate and sneak about and once the fucking lawyers get involved, and there's the way the American Constitution is set up, the way the whole world's set up, in terms of the truth setting us free. I saw it again with Stammer and the other dude that was Manderson, the Prince of Darkness. Holy fuck, like, you couldn't make it up. That's what they call him, the Prince of Darkness, friend of Epstein, and a really significant member of the British ruling kind of government. Like, what the fuck? What happened? Again, what school did he go to? Who created him? Who allowed him to find his way into the circus? What role does that Joker play? That literal clown puppet, and and they all get what they need for themselves, don't they? All get their £100,000 and £1,000,000 bungs, but it's oiling the wheels of the dark side of this world, and what they do with it and how they control it, and the sneakery and the trickery that goes into it. It's I'm hoping and praying that it comes out. If it doesn't come out in these times, my worry is, like, when does it come out? When is it ever going to come out? It's fascinating. It really is. So the politics and the voting, for me, it's never really mattered. They can say what they like. They can talk about what they intend, what they're going to do, how they're going to change it. But they're so limited in terms of their abilities to do that. Money's the biggest thing. How many times did they go in and it's like, what do you mean? There's no money to do anything. So all the stuff you've just ran on, in terms of your political campaign that you've promised on, and normally one of the first things they need to do, certainly in Scotland, is cutbacks. And they start backtracking, so their dreams fucking blown up right away. It doesn't work. We need money to do that, and we've no money, and they don't get to see that a lot of the time before they're in office. I wouldn't imagine. Maybe they do, but so when they go in and they see the books and they see what's available, and they need to tell teachers and fucking firemen that they're getting your rise, and in fact, they may need to take something off you. It's no easy. Very, very difficult. Wow. In many, many ways, I mean, somebody needs to do it, but for me, because when you look at them and you see their intentions and you see their story and you hear them say what they're going to do, Trump was a big one. He was a peace president, wasn't he? That's what he called himself. And then in the first term around, there was no war. He stopped all the wars. So again, what happened during that period? Maybe the Epstein stuff came up then, and they got a hold of him by the fucking the lugs and said, "Here's, listen, son, here's how this goes together." It might be that. It could be something as simple as that. But certainly since then, this second time around, you can't call himself that anymore. It was funny when he called for the Nobel Peace Prize. Again, what a character. What a character he is, but holy shit, like, the carnage and the chaos that he's causing in this year of chaos. And again, how much of it is just him? To think that he's just a man, like somebody who's obviously is detached. His mental and physical capabilities are obviously failing. It's a front. The whole thing's a front. It's a show, isn't it? Like the state of his actual health. So to think that the whole of America and everything to do with that government is built on like this one man, and he can actually say this is what's happening. I'm sure there's different ways where it needs to go through different committees, and I'm hoping before you don't just, like he says, let's go and blow somebody up, and they do that. That's the way you would. It's kind of salty, but I don't believe that's the case. So he comes in, he changes up, he then starts killing countless people, and then all of a sudden you can't remember. And this is where you see your man Tucker Carlson retracting and apologising for helping him get into power. Very interesting. He's another one, another old CIA asset, I do believe. And again, the show continues, because when Trump's not there, Trump's been fantastic as a distraction. The Clintons as well, the Bushes, again, you talk about career politicians, what the Bushes attained during their life, both the daddy and the gremlin, the money they made and how they did it, and then Bill Clinton, the money that, it's just the Clinton Foundation, and it's fascinating stuff. The whole thing about it, as I was just going to say, you look at the results, and did you actually do what you said you were going to do? And every single time the answer is no. They never. They don't get a chance to. They're either corrupt, or they go down a different path, or they've not got the resources or the funds, or the ability to do what they said they were going to do. And at that point, then does it really matter? And I really do feel that they are absolutely, they're necessary for in terms of how things go together. There are all these meetings and stuff that makes things work. I'm really grateful for that. But in terms of the grand scheme of things, and at a world level, I think you need to be thinking about the way the ones that are above them, above the puppets, above the kind of, because they'll only reach a certain level, and that's great for normal society, to be the Prime Minister and all the doors that obviously opens. But I mean, fucking what a life. What a life to be in that, and to, again, you think about the mind and the ego. That's heaven for them. The significance that gives them. The good foods and the good wines and the opportunities and the money they'll make and the privilege. I mean, what a privileged life. And especially when you're into, excess, and as a lot of these schoolboys are. The latest one, the only guy I saw talking about it was George Galloway, the thing with the 3 rent boys. Which people might even know about, with Keir Starmer, where they basically firebombed his ex-house and blew up his old car. And the question is, like, how did they know where he used to stay and all this kind of stuff? So there's loads of things with these. They're always weird as fuck. That's the way that I see it. They're not the full showing, and they've got very, obvious agendas, which is to make money and milk the most of the opportunity they've been given. And they're trained for that. So fair play to them. But once their time is up, once they're done and dusted, and it's time for them to move on, then somebody else will just come in. That's just the way that it is. It never changes. Nothing ever changes. It just keeps getting tighter and tighter. Sorry to be a wee bit a pessimist, but it is. Coming back through Portugal last week, and the new restrictions for travel, because we're no longer in the European Union. It's fucking horrible, to think you actually can't go somewhere, or you can go, but you can only go for a certain period of time, and because we say so. And you think you're being free and what it means for a human being, and that's especially as I'm getting older. I'd like to have the opportunity to do what I want, but they're now saying you can't do that, or you need to jump through their fucking hoops to be able to do that. And that's a wee bit frustrating, and that's where maybe we need to look further afield and see where that is no longer the case, because Europe and certainly the Western world it's in a terrible place just now in so many different ways. The financial side of things alone, but these challenges that we're facing are being placed upon us for the Middle East. The shortage of fuel, the energy crisis that's already here, I think, it's really, really dangerous, and hopefully there's going to be an end to it, but I can't see it. The longer the distraction continues, then the more it just keeps it going, doesn't it? The more time they've got, and it's a waiting game, and eventually it's like a war of attrition. And they fuckers, they've what they got to lose. The ones that are running it and cutting about their policies and eating like kings. The whole thing, the whole system, it doesn't matter, and it's fascinating to watch the whole thing, like how it goes together and how much people are invested in it, how much it means to them, how much they think they can still influence it. Protesting and fighting for your cause and speaking about what you believe to be right, and at the end of the day, it's like, again, it's a separation game for me. It's a distraction game. It keeps you fighting, like pick a side and then let's fight against each other. It's just another example of that. The show keeps going, the puppets keep getting replaced, and nothing ever really changes. The whole thing is an absolute illusion. It's the literal matrix. It's designed to keep you busy and active and stimulated and worried and fearful and stressed and ill. That's the game. That's their game. That's what they're trying to do with all of that, as far as I can see it, on some level. And what's the answer? What's the opposite way of doing that? So how do you fix that? What do we do? And that's very difficult, because the world and the way that it's set up is not going to change. And that's why I'm like dead against like protesting and fucking. Like, good luck, good luck. Once they start getting you on those facial recognition cameras, it's like, which you're already in, the minute you need to go abroad now, you hear people saying, it wouldn't be me, I wouldn't be doing it, but you can't travel, unless you like to take a picture of your fucking eyeball, you can't travel. And your fingerprints as well the first time, so it's like, it's not nice. Even the x-ray machines and the thorough search that they'd give you, like, you're going on holiday at 5:30 in the morning. You've been up the whole night, you're tired and you're looking forward to getting away, and you're dealing with just fucking, it's like a Nazi state. That's what it feels like. It really does. It feels like an enforced state in so many different ways, and there's a few examples of that just now, the system and the oppression that I'm feeling personally, funnily enough, with the Crown. It's had a wee side story. Aye, there's a thing in Lanark where they voted for it years and years ago. I didn't vote for it. I say I don't watch stuff and I don't play and stuff. I just kind of try and keep my head down, and as long as it doesn't affect me directly, then I'm okay with it. But there's this thing where the businesses voted, the local businesses, and they decided that it was going to be, you know, you to vote for it, which again, maybe shame on me I didn't vote, but whether that would have made any difference, like, I just couldn't be fucked. I hate committees, I hate listening to people. I want to keep my head down and, you know, help those that I can. Stay out the road, you know, stay away from the drama. So all of that stuff I take nothing to do with. Anyway, they voted this thing out. It's called a bid levy, where you need to pay a certain amount every year, which is then law. As soon as they vote it in, then it's law. So you don't have a choice whether you pay it or not. And for many, I grudge it every single year. It goes towards making the town better and advertising, and I can get it if you're in the town centre. But for me, what I'm doing, and I don't really want to be part of that anyway. I want to be out the road at all of that. So I don't really need it. Don't really want it. I am contributing to that, but that's fair enough. So it's like 200-300 quid every year. I grudge it every year because one, I didn't want to do it, and two, there's no real benefit to me. And you know, the fact that I need to do it at that point, I'm like, fuck off. Again, your choice has just been taken. So anyway, it used to be at a certain time of year. I think they changed it a couple of years ago, maybe, but I missed it last year, probably because I'm not one of the fucking letters, or fire letters as I call them. And I had 2 sheriff officers turned up at the door with, you know, again, just a sketch. One was a wee lassie, like a Wayne. She was about 16. It was embarrassing, and this stuttering fucking, you know, this man, going about debt collecting, or not even debt collecting. It kind of caught me off guard. And I've had sheriff officers with my businesses way back. It's not nice. I don't like them. I don't like the whole system, if I'm honest. And especially when I discovered what this was and how it was obviously I'd broken the law by not paying this thing that I didn't agree to fucking pay. But now there's also £100 charge for the debt collection fee, and it's just like, fuck off. Like, fuck off. The whole thing. It's very, very challenging. Again, the system and the politics and the borders and the way the religions are set up, and the kings of the post. I did a post this morning, and it was exactly that. You know, no religion, no politics. You know, no kings, like no fucking owner. Who says that they have got the right to own us? What they can't have when you look at them. Look at the nick of them. So how did they get into that position where they own the country, the amount of land in our country, the royal family, what they own, you know, in Canada, how the Queen, the King now owns Canada. Like, how obscene is that? Obscene. So you start to trace back their families and how far back they go. And again, I never agreed to that. I don't like that system. And if you don't like it, then you can leave. And that's the bit that you get. You kind of, then it becomes like, where can you actually go? You know, so that's challenged as well, because the whole thing and the way that it's set up in this country, that feeds into a lot of the world. You know, so at that point, it doesn't work. The system doesn't work. The policies don't work. The politicians obviously don't work in terms of the greatest good and make this world a better place. They don't. The borders, the separation, you know, the way that we've been indoctrinated and trained, our belief system as to, you know, what reality is fake and is false, and there's lies all over that. What we believe to be true and what we believe to be even this world and what we're in, and we don't know. You know, we know what we've been told, but that's very, very limited. And again, the truth that sets us free. What is the truth? Who are you? You know, what are you? Ask that to everybody that I work with. And again, asked a man yesterday, and they tell you the story, you know, in terms of who they believe themselves to be and who they're becoming, and that's all. That's the answer, isn't it? But it's not the right answer, you know, because the honest and the truth in terms of all that you are, which is a divine being, you know, carried within this vessel that you call yourself, your name, your identity, you know. But beyond that, the bit that you think you are, the bit that you carry, your spirit, your divine essence that you brought into this world, that's the bit I'm talking about. And that's the bit nobody knows. That's the bit that's missing from all of this, because we're all living in the heat. We're all in the ego, we're all in the mind, we're all in, you know, get it before it's too late and kill before you're killed. And that's one way of doing it. You know, that's the jungle way of doing it, which it is just now. It's a jungle. But this world was made for more than that, and it's just been trained, and we've been controlled and coerced into living this way. So the way that it's meant to be, you know, can you imagine, without sounding like John Lennon, I wee spit on him the other day when he was singing Imagine There's No Heaven. I didn't like that. Although, again, it depends how you see it, doesn't it? But no religion, no politics, no right and wrong, just no ignorance would be the one for me. Imagine a world with no ignorance, where people were aware and awake and educated and had the experience of the stuff that I'm talking about. It doesn't matter who it is, I always say that, so that would be the test, to bring somebody in and detox them, give them a week to get away from their food and their phone and their fight and flight, all the Fs. Get a fucking break for themselves and for the world, de-escalate their nervous system, and then, very quickly, a week would be long enough to basically take somebody and show them through direct experience of what you're talking about, that once you calm the head and you switch off the stress and you can't think, and then you go inside and you start to remember how you're meant to feel, you start to reconnect back into your emotions and back into your heart and ultimately back into your soul. What's available to you, the internal journey, the vastness of that, the journey of discovery back to the self, back inside to the self. I'm watching it everywhere just now with so many of the people with the Vortex, and it's wonderful. That's the journey for this lifetime. I believe that's the only one you should be thinking about. The rest of the stuff's just stuff you need to do to make your way through it. Your work and you're making money and surviving, and that's just basic stuff. But the real journey that you should be on is the spiritual journey, 100%. At least both of them, but eventually, especially as you get older, it should lean towards the spiritual side of things. That's the most important thing. That's the bit that is going to set you up, get into the next bit, and then after that, the journey of the soul is eternal. So if you're aware of it, you need to be working on it. And for me, my politics, to counterbalance all of that, my politics are very, very simple. I believe in the way. I believe in the way that it's meant to be. I believe in the power of the divine. I believe in consciousness, the quantum field of infinite intelligence. I believe that we come through that. I believe in God, the source, that everything comes through. I believe we carry that inside of us. We all do. We come from it, and we come through that field where things are made manifest. We come through as electromagnetic in nature, energy, and then we become matter, through a series of how many miracles, and the chances of that even happening in this world, and being where we're at and how we land, and what the possibilities we've got, we'll be able to think, and our conscious thinking mind and our unconscious mind, and how that links into consciousness itself. So we carry it inside of us, of course we do, and that's the bit that people need to know, not just to hear about it or to learn about it, but to experience it and to know how to get back there. So my politics are very much in alignment with that, giving people the bridges on their journey, and perhaps showing a path, and even explaining, what enlightenment is, what that means, what it means to know there's a power inside of you that is, the exact same power that created everything you can see and way beyond. To know that you come from, that source, that you come from God, that you carry that inside of you, and then to know that, to really understand that, and ways, learn ways how to enable that in your life so you can get the benefits from it. Because that's the bit that's missing. And that's spirituality. That's nothing to do with religion. There's no religion in that. Religion is, I'm going here and I'm hoping they're going to give me that, and it's going to come back and I'm going to feel better and I'm going to be a good guy, and when I die I can go to heaven. So maybe John Lennon was right. Imagine there's no heaven. I don't think there is. Consciousness, quantum field of infinite possibilities, different realms, aye, but in terms of somewhere we'll go and drink beer and play golf, I can't see it. It doesn't feel like it. So freedom is a plan, to be free, to know. The only freedom is enlightenment, to know the truth, to know that this is temporary, to know that, this is a fucking illusion, every bit of it. To know it's the journey of the soul that's the important part. That's real freedom. And then how to make it best you can, navigating your way through this journey. And that's where, the program itself that I teach, with the basics and the fundamentals, and the first part of it, I suppose, is to manage the physical side of you, the human being side of you, how you sleep, how you think, how you breathe, what you expect, how you, what your belief system is, how you can make changes consciously, how you can better yourself consciously. That's the starter for 10. But then through that, once the nervous system calms down and we start to go inside and start to experience meditation, especially in the groups, and then the whole world changes. People really start to they get it, then they start to experience it, and they start to understand the words that I'm using and why I'm doing it. When you see the benefits of what other people are getting around about them, and then what they get for it is to get for it themselves. It's absolutely fascinating, really, really powerful. So that's my politics. Self-reliance, serve God, help people, compassion, offer advice if it's asked for, and do your best every single day, start on your knees and reconnect back to the divine. And then if you can, carry it with you all day and stand up for it, and be a part of that by being allowing it to be expressed through you as a part of the solution for this world, because it does need it. There's a lot of darkness, a lot of sadness, a lot of kind of pain, suffering and trauma just now, and this is the antidote. This is the stuff that makes it all better. It doesn't matter what it is. And it's still frustrating for me to see how many people don't know that it exists, and that's something I absolutely intend to do my best to make best that I can and change as much as I can, so that more and more people can understand that when I say the way is the way, and the art of intentional living, and get on the program and taking responsibility, and the choice and the 3 pillars, and how you've got the ability to get every single thing you came here to get. Every single one of us, we have that ability inside of us, and it's learning that process. It's remembering and reconnecting and relearning, what's available to you, which is, it starts off by knowing who you are and all that you are and what you're connected to, and that's really exciting. It really is. So, the Great Reset is on, Darkness to Light. I do believe it's a spiritual reset, and we're doing our best every single day to get it to the world through the programme, through our community, giving thanks for those who are run about it. Anybody who's interested, anybody who'd like to be part of it, you can hit us up a message and let us kind of speak to you and see where you're at. The meditations, the live groups, the sacred space, which is available 365, is always there and getting very well used. The sessions online, the sessions together, starting this next week or so, back down to the river again, and there will be another Breathe and Believe for the summertime, I believe. Once Michael and Fern are back, I'm thinking another big Breathe and Believe up at Loch Lomond. It's maybe time we did one of them again. But for the programme members, which is where most of my attention goes, where most of my work and focus goes to, those that are run about me and contributing to this every single day. Of course it is. They're the ones that are serious about it. They're the ones that are living it, and it's great to get the experience. It's great to come in and get in about it for one time, but the ones that are living it and seeing what they're getting, that's what it's all about for me, obviously. There's many, many levels to it. I'm really grateful for all it, I suppose. We keep going. We didn't stop. Enlightenment for all, to know the goodness and the power, the divinity that you carry inside you. That's what it's all about, and then to live for that place. That's how we fix the world. Only spirituality can heal this world, which comes through these practices, a shift in awareness, like a quantum shift in your consciousness and your awareness, so you can see things from a different perspective. And then, once we can see it in a different way and you see through the veil, then we can start to make it better. So that's the intention. Number 81, politics. Giving thanks if you tuned in, sending my best. Peace out, God bless, take it easy, and bye for now.